The wedding dress slipped from her trembling hands before a single tear escaped her eyes. The grand hall around her shimmered with crystal lights, expensive flowers, and smiling guests who had no idea that the bride standing in front of them was only moments away from the biggest humiliation of her life. She looked across the crowded entrance, searching desperately for someone, anyone, who could save her from a nightmare that had arrived wearing the disguise of the happiest day of her life. Then her eyes met those of a complete stranger. Without thinking twice, she rushed toward him, placed the delicate white wedding dress into his stunned hands, and whispered the words that would change both of their lives forever. "Please, act like you're my fiancé for just 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were never supposed to matter. Instead, they became the beginning of a story neither of them could have imagined. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles can completely change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind the world kindness still exists. The stranger's name was Ethan Brooks, a 32-year-old carpenter whose life had been shaped more by quiet sacrifices than extraordinary achievements. He had spent years repairing old homes, building furniture for families who could barely afford it, and living alone in a small apartment above his workshop. His clothes were simple, his hands were rough from years of honest work, and there was nothing about him that suggested he belonged anywhere near the luxurious hotel where one of the city's wealthiest weddings was taking place. Earlier that afternoon, he had only entered the building because a delivery company had mistakenly sent a handcrafted wooden memory box to the wrong entrance. Ethan had volunteered to return it himself, expecting to spend no more than 5 minutes inside before continuing with his ordinary day. Fate, however, had prepared something far greater than another routine delivery. As he stared into the frightened eyes of the young woman standing before him, he could see something far deeper than panic. There was heartbreak, exhaustion, fear, and the silent desperation of someone who had reached the edge of hope. Every instinct told him to ask questions, but something even stronger told him that this was not the moment for questions. It was the moment for compassion. Without understanding the full story, Ethan gently nodded, picked up the wedding dress, and followed her toward the private bridal suite while confused guests continued chatting outside, unaware that the entire celebration stood on the edge of collapse. Her name was Amelia Carter. At 28 years old, she had grown up believing that success, wealth, and appearances could solve almost every problem. She was the only daughter of one of the city's most respected business families, and from childhood she had carried the weight of expectations that seemed impossible to escape. Every achievement was celebrated, but every mistake felt unforgivable. Her parents loved her in the only way they knew how, measuring happiness through accomplishments, elegant parties, and perfect public appearances. Over the years Amelia became skilled at hiding her true emotions behind confident smiles. No one realized that beneath the polished image was a young woman who often felt completely alone. This wedding had never truly been her dream. It had slowly become everyone else's dream until she no longer remembered where her own wishes had disappeared. The man she was supposed to marry had impressive credentials, endless charm, and a family whose influence perfectly matched her parents' ambitions. On paper they looked like the perfect couple. In reality they barely understood each other. Amelia had ignored countless warning signs because she believed commitment meant enduring discomfort. She convinced herself that love would eventually grow. Instead, she discovered the painful truth only an hour before the ceremony. Her fiancé had confessed, without shame or regret, that he had been living a double life for months. Even worse, he admitted he was only going through with the wedding because canceling it would damage important business agreements between both families. He expected Amelia to smile through the ceremony, sign the marriage papers, and continue pretending everything was perfect until the public attention faded. When she refused, he simply walked away, confident she would never have the courage to embarrass her own family by exposing the truth. Amelia stood frozen for several minutes after he left. Every hallway echoed with cheerful music while inside her heart everything had already fallen apart. She knew that if guests discovered the groom had abandoned the wedding, her parents would be devastated, newspapers would feast on the scandal, and years of family reputation would crumble overnight. She had never felt so trapped. That was the exact moment she saw Ethan walking through the hotel lobby carrying the beautifully crafted wooden box. She didn't know his name. She didn't know where he came from. She only knew that his calm expression looked completely different from the selfish faces surrounding her. And somehow, that was enough.